To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, we'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. A Sister's Desperate Plea. Jared Pike had always prided himself on reading people. As a forensic accountant who'd helped the FBI untangle white-collar crimes for 8 years before going private, he'd developed an instinct for deception. But that cold February evening, sitting across from his sister-in-law Madeline Bauer in their Denver living room, he sensed something off, though he couldn't quite name it. Madeline clutched a tissue, her eyes red-rimmed. "I don't know where else to turn," she whispered, looking between Jared and his wife, Lauren. "The adoption agencies won't work with single mothers in my situation. The waiting lists are years long. And surrogacy agencies." She trailed off, shaking her head. "I've been rejected by 3 already." Lauren reached across the coffee table, squeezing her younger sister's hand. The two sisters had always been closer since their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. "Why won't they work with you? You have a good job, a stable home." "They found out about my medical history." Madeline's voice cracked. "The anxiety disorder I was hospitalized for at 23. They say it makes me high risk as a parent. But I'm fine now, Lauren. I've been in therapy for years. I'm stable. I want a child so badly." Jared studied Madeline carefully. At 31, she was 3 years younger than Lauren, worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep, and lived in an upscale condo in Boulder. On paper, everything checked out. But something about her body language, the way she wouldn't quite meet his eyes, the slight tremor in her hands that seemed more like nervous energy than grief, triggered his investigator's intuition. "What exactly are you asking?" Jared kept his voice neutral. Madeline's gaze snapped to him, then to Lauren. "I want Lauren to be my surrogate. I've already found a donor through a reputable sperm bank. All the paperwork is ready. I'll pay all medical expenses, of course, plus $50,000 for your trouble. I need someone I can trust. Someone who'll actually care about my baby." Lauren's eyes widened. She looked at Jared, uncertainty flickering across her face. They'd been married for 6 years, and after 2 miscarriages, they decided to remain childless and pour their energy into their careers and travels. Lauren was a nurse practitioner who'd just been promoted to clinic manager. This would derail everything. "That's a huge ask, Madeline," Jared said carefully. 9 months of Lauren's life. Health risks. Career implications. "I know." Madeline leaned forward, intensity burning in her eyes. "I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. Lauren, you're the only family I have left. Please, help me become a mother." That night, after Madeline left, Jared found Lauren on their bedroom balcony, staring at the Denver skyline. "You're thinking about saying yes," he said. "She's my sister. My only sister." Lauren turned to him. "After Mom and Dad died, we promised we'd always be there for each other. And Jared, you saw how broken she looked. What if this is my chance to help her build the family she's always wanted?" Jared wrapped his arms around his wife. "I support whatever you decide. But promise me something. We do this carefully. Legal contracts, medical oversight, everything by the book." "Of course." Lauren kissed him. "Thank you for understanding." But Jared couldn't shake his unease. That night, he did what he always did when something didn't sit right. He started digging. A simple background check on Madeline Bauer, just to be safe. What he found seemed normal. Clean credit, no criminal record, stable employment history at Henderson Pharmaceuticals. But there was a gap. 8 months in 2019 where her employment records went dark, and her social media fell silent. When he'd asked Madeline about it casually at a family dinner the following week, she'd said she was traveling through Europe, finding herself. Lauren had confirmed it, showing him postcards Madeline had sent. Jared had filed it away, but his instinct whispered that something wasn't right. Chapter 2. The 9-month Illusion. The pregnancy proceeded smoothly, too smoothly, perhaps. Madeline was the perfect expectant mother by proxy, attending every appointment, reading every pregnancy book, buying everything Lauren could possibly need. She'd even moved temporarily to Denver to be closer, renting a furnished apartment in Cherry Creek. But Jared noticed things. Small things. Madeline always insisted on being present at ultrasounds, which was normal. What wasn't normal was how she'd photograph every image, her hands shaking slightly, her eyes darting around the room as if checking for surveillance. When Jared asked if she was okay, she'd laugh it off as new mother jitters. There were the phone calls she'd take in private, stepping outside restaurants or into other rooms, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. When Lauren asked who called, it was always work or the lawyer about the paperwork. And there was the money. Madeline had paid the $50,000 in cash, handed over in a designer bag with a nervous smile. "I've been saving for years," she'd explained. But Jared had seen her tax returns as part of the legal process. Her salary didn't match that kind of liquid savings, not with her spending habits. He'd started his own investigation, quietly. Henderson Pharmaceuticals confirmed Madeline's employment, but seemed oddly cagey about her responsibilities. When he'd called pretending to be a reference check for a rental application, the HR rep had paused too long before confirming details. The 8-month gap in 2019 nagged at him. Europe didn't explain the complete digital blackout. So Jared did what he was trained to do. He followed the money. Bank records, obtained through a private investigator contact who operated in legal gray areas, showed Madeline's account receiving a wire transfer of $150,000 in March 2019 from an LLC registered in Delaware. The company, Horizon Family Services, had dissolved 6 months later. Jared dug deeper. Horizon Family Services had been investigated, but not prosecuted, for suspected involvement in illegal adoptions and surrogacy fraud. The trail went cold after that, buried in sealed court documents he couldn't access without raising red flags. He should have told Lauren. Should have stopped the pregnancy. But Lauren was 6 months along, glowing despite the physical toll, talking about how happy she was to give her sister this gift. How could he destroy that with unproven suspicions? The baby, a girl, was born on a rainy October evening. Madeline named her Emma. For 3 days, she was the doting mother, barely leaving the hospital room, holding Emma with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Then, on the 4th day, Madeline vanished. Lauren woke in her hospital room to find Emma in her bassinet, a note pinned to the blanket. "I'm sorry. I can't do this. Please take care of her. She's better off with you." Lauren called Madeline's phone, disconnected. Her apartment, emptied, lease terminated. Her job, she'd resigned 2 weeks prior via email. They said, claiming family emergency. It was as if Madeline Bauer had simply ceased to exist. Lauren was devastated. How could she just leave her baby? She sobbed in Jared's arms. What kind of mother does that? Jared held his wife, his mind racing. This wasn't abandonment. This was an extraction. Madeline had gotten what she wanted from them, and now she'd disappeared. But what had she actually wanted? Emma was legally theirs through the surrogacy contract, so it wasn't about the baby itself. Unless Emma wasn't who Madeline had claimed she was. Chapter 3. The Family We Made. 3 years evaporated like morning mist. Emma became the center of their universe. A bright, curious child with Lauren's eyes and a smile that could melt the coldest heart. Jared had never wanted children, but fatherhood had transformed him. He coached Emma's tiny soccer team, read bedtime stories with theatrical voices, and found himself photographing every milestone. Lauren had healed from Madeline's betrayal, though she still wondered aloud sometimes what had driven her sister away. They'd legally adopted Emma after a year when Madeline never resurfaced, never contacted them, left no trace. Jared, however, never stopped investigating. In the quiet hours after Emma slept, he'd built a case file that would have impressed his FBI days. He'd tracked Madeline through digital breadcrumbs, a credit card used once in Mexico City, a blurry security camera image from a hotel in Guadalajara, social media accounts under variations of her name that popped up briefly before disappearing. What he discovered chilled him. Madeline had been involved with something called the Network. His private investigator contact, a former agent named Ray Stone, had identified it as an international operation that facilitated illegal adoptions and surrogacy arrangements for wealthy clients who couldn't or wouldn't go through legitimate channels. The 2019 gap in Madeline's life? She'd been a surrogate herself, part of the network's operation. But something had gone wrong. The baby she'd carried had been born premature and hadn't survived. The network had cut her loose, left her with debt and trauma. And Madeline, desperate and damaged, had apparently tried to get back into their good graces by delivering them Emma. Ray had found fragments of communications, encrypted messages that suggested Emma had been sourced through questionable means. But sourced from where? From whom? That remained the missing piece. Jared kept this from Lauren. What would he say? Their daughter might not be legally theirs through any recognized framework, that Emma might have other parents somewhere, grieving. He needed proof before he could destroy their world. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon in March, 3 years after Emma's birth, everything shattered. Jared was working from home when the doorbell rang. Two police officers stood on his porch, a detective named Willie Ott and a female officer whose badge read Hancock. "Mr. Pike." Detective Ott's face was grave. "Is your wife home?" "She's at work." "What's this about?" "We need to speak with both of you. It's regarding your daughter, Emma." Jared's blood turned to ice. "What about Emma?" Detective Ott pulled out a tablet, showing Jared a photograph. It was an age-progressed image of an infant, now showing what the child might look like at 3 years old. Next to it was a photo of Emma from her 3rd birthday party last month. They were identical. "Mr. Pike, this is Sophia Morales. She was abducted from a hospital in Albuquerque, New Mexico, 3 years and 8 months ago. Her biological parents have never stopped looking for her." Detective Ott's voice was steady but not unkind. "We need to talk about how she came to be in your custody." The world tilted. Jared gripped the doorframe, his mind racing through possibilities, explanations, strategies. But he already knew the truth. Madeline had used them. She'd had Lauren carry and birth a stolen child, making them unwitting accomplices in kidnapping. "I need to call my lawyer," Jared said, his voice remarkably steady despite the nuclear bomb that had just detonated in his life. "And my wife. But officers, I want you to understand something right now. We had no idea. We were victims in this too." "That's what we're here to determine, Mr. Pike," Detective Hancock said gently. "But we need to move quickly. There are people who've been searching for their daughter for over 3 years. They deserve answers." As the officers waited in his living room, Jared's phone trembled in his hand as he called Lauren. When she answered, he could barely speak past the rage building in his chest. Not at the police, not at the situation, but at Madeline. She'd stolen 3 years of some family's life. She'd used Lauren's body and their love as weapons. She'd made them kidnappers. And she was going to pay for every single second of it. Chapter 4. The Truth Unravels. The interrogation room at Denver Police Department was sterile and cold. Jared sat beside Lauren, their lawyer, a sharp woman named Judith Bailey, between them. Across the table, Detective Ott laid out the pieces of a nightmare. Sophia Morales was born at Presbyterian Hospital in Albuquerque on October 15th, 3 years ago. Ott began, sliding photos across the table. Her mother, Verna Alvarez, was 28, a schoolteacher. Her father, Angelo Avila, was 31, an engineer. First-time parents. Jared studied the photos. A young couple, their faces radiant with joy, holding a newborn. His chest constricted. He knew that joy, had felt it the moment he held Emma. 6 hours after Sophia's birth, Ott continued, Verna went to sleep. The nurses checked regularly. At 4 a.m., during a shift change, someone walked into that room dressed in scrubs and a surgical mask. Security footage shows them leaving 12 minutes later with an infant-shaped bundle. Sophia was gone. Lauren made a small, wounded sound. Judith put a hand on her arm. The hospital went into lockdown immediately, Ott said. But whoever took Sophia knew exactly what they were doing. They avoided most cameras, and what footage we have is useless, professional disguise work. The FBI got involved. Amber Alert, nationwide manhunt. Nothing. Sophia Morales vanished. Until an age progression specialist saw a photo your wife posted on Facebook last month. Detective Hancock added, her voice gentler. The resemblance was striking enough to flag. We obtained a court order for your daughter's DNA. It's a match to Verna Alvarez and Angelo Avila. Your Emma is their Sophia. Lauren was crying silently. Jared felt his world cracking, but he forced himself to think like the investigator he was. We were victims of a crime, he said clearly. My sister-in-law, Madeline Bauer, approached us about surrogacy. We went through what we believed was a legitimate process. We had contracts, medical records, everything appeared legal. We're not accusing you of kidnapping, Ott said, but we need everything you have on Madeline Bauer, because she's not who she told you she was. Over the next 3 hours, they reconstructed the deception. Detective Hancock pulled up files. Madeline Bauer had been flagged by the FBI 2 years ago as an associate of the network, a criminal organization operating across multiple states. She'd been a surrogate in their operation but had never been prosecuted due to lack of evidence. The sperm donor paperwork you received? Hancock showed them documents. Forged. There was no donor. What we believe happened is this. Madeline was hired by the network to acquire an infant. She abducted Sophia Morales, but couldn't deliver her immediately. Too much heat from the investigation. So she needed to hide the baby somewhere safe, with people who wouldn't ask questions. She used us, Lauren whispered. She used my body, my love for her, to create a cover story. Judith leaned forward. My clients had no knowledge of this. They have documentation of a surrogacy arrangement. They acted in good faith. We believe you, Ott said. But Mrs. Pike, you need to understand. You weren't actually Emma's surrogate. The embryo implanted in you was never from Madeline Bauer's egg. The timing doesn't work. Sophia was born 6 hours before Emma. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Jared's mind raced through the implications. You're saying Madeline stole Sophia, then what? She had her own accomplice give birth to a decoy baby she could abandon with us. We don't know yet, Hancock admitted. But the network has done this before. Used surrogacy arrangements to launder kidnapped infants, creating paper trails that make the children appear legitimate. Lauren looked at Jared, her face pale. What happens to Emma now? Detective Ott's expression was sympathetic but firm. Verna Alvarez and Angelo Avila have been notified. They're flying to Denver tomorrow. There will need to be a reunification process, counseling for all parties. There's no easy way forward, Mrs. Pike. But that little girl is their daughter. She's our daughter too, Jared said, his voice hard. We raised her. We love her. She doesn't know any other parents. I understand, Ott said. And the family court will take all of that into account. But Mr. Pike, Mrs. Pike, Sophia Morales was stolen from parents who never stopped searching. They deserve to have their daughter back. As they left the police station, Lauren collapsed against Jared in the parking lot, sobbing. We're going to lose her. We're going to lose Emma. Jared held his wife, but his mind was already 3 steps ahead. He'd spent 3 years building a file on Madeline, and now he had the full picture. The network had taken everything from 2 families, the Avila Alvarez family and his own. But Madeline had made a critical mistake. She'd underestimated him. We're not losing anyone, Jared said quietly. I'm going to find Madeline. I'm going to bring down the entire network. And I'm going to make sure Emma knows the truth about everyone who hurt her. Lauren looked up at him. How? By doing what I do best, Jared said. I'm going to follow the money, find the proof, and trap them all. And Madeline Bauer is going to be the key to everything. Chapter 5, The Morales Family. Meeting Verna Alvarez and Angelo Avila was the hardest thing Jared had ever done. They sat in a conference room at the Department of Child Services, a social worker present. Emma playing with toys in an observation room next door, unaware her entire world was about to change. Verna was a petite woman with Sophia's, Emma's, dark eyes. Angelo was tall, lean, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. We don't hate you, were Verna's first words to Lauren. I want you to know that. We know you didn't take our baby, but she is our baby. Lauren nodded, tears streaming. I know. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what you've been through. 3 years, Angelo said quietly. 3 years of searching, of wondering if she was alive, if she was being hurt, if we'd ever see her again. Do you know what that does to people? Jared did. He could see it in their faces, the erosion of hope, the desperate clinging to faith, the way they looked at Emma through the observation window like they were seeing a ghost made flesh. I'm a forensic investigator, Jared said. I've spent the last 3 years trying to find Madeline Bauer because I knew something was wrong. I have files, evidence, connections to the organization that took your daughter. I want to help you get justice. Angelo's eyes sharpened. You know who did this? I know the network. I know Madeline was part of it. And I'm close to finding her. The social worker, a woman named Paige Davidson, intervened. The focus right now needs to be on Sophia's well-being. We'll be implementing a reunification plan that prioritizes her emotional health. Her name is Emma, Lauren said softly. That's all she's ever known. We can work with that, Verna said, her voice breaking. We can call her Emma Sophia. We just want our daughter back. Over the next 2 weeks, Jared watched his family disintegrate. The reunification process was gradual, supervised visits where Emma met her biological parents, confused but adaptable in the way only 3-year-olds can be. Lauren was devastated, putting on a brave face for Emma but crying herself to sleep every night. But Jared was working. Ray Stone had come through with a breakthrough. A member of the network had been arrested on unrelated charges and was looking to deal. His name was Spencer Singleton, a former lawyer who'd facilitated illegal adoptions. In exchange for a reduced sentence, he was willing to talk about the network's operations. Jared met him in a federal holding facility, recording everything with FBI permission. Agent Tyrone Keller, who was leading the investigation, sat in. The network operated in cells, Spencer explained, his face haggard. No one knew everyone, but I knew Madeline Bauer. She was supposed to deliver the Morales baby to a client, a wealthy couple overseas willing to pay $500,000 for a healthy white infant from educated parents. But Madeline panicked after the abduction. Too much FBI attention. So she stashed the kid. With us, Jared said coldly. Smart move, actually. You provided perfect cover, legitimate surrogacy paperwork, a legal adoption after she disappeared. The baby was hidden in plain sight while the heat died down. Madeline was supposed to retrieve her once the investigation went cold. But she never came back, Jared said. Spencer's smile was grim. Because the network doesn't forgive failure. When Madeline didn't deliver, they cut her off. Last I heard, she was in debt to some very dangerous people. Probably why she stayed gone. Where is she now? If I knew that, I'd tell you. But I can tell you this. The network keeps records. Client lists, transactions, everything. Insurance, in case someone talks. There's a server, hidden somewhere. Find it, you find everything. After the interview, Agent Keller turned to Jared. This is a federal investigation now. I know you want to help, but I'm not stopping, Jared interrupted. That woman used my wife, stole 3 years from the Morales family, and made my daughter a victim. I'm going to find her, and I'm going to make sure she pays for all of it. Keller studied him. Officially, I have to tell you to let us handle this. Unofficially, Spencer mentioned a location that wasn't in his formal statement. A place Madeline used to talk about. A property the network used in southern Colorado, near the New Mexico border. Cabin in the mountains, off-grid. If I were a betting man, I'd say she might be there. Jared met his eyes. Thanks. Just remember, anything you do outside legal channels, I can't protect you from. I'll keep that in mind, Jared said. Chapter 6, Emma's Choice. The reunification was happening faster than Lauren could handle. Emma had started calling Verna, Mama Verna, and Angelo Papa Angelo, though she still called Lauren and Jared Mommy and Daddy. But the psychologist warned them, Emma would eventually need to transition fully to the Avila Alvarez household. You'll always be part of her life, Paige Davidson assured them. The court is likely to grant you visitation rights, given the unique circumstances. But her primary residence needs to be with her biological parents. Lauren had locked herself in the bathroom after that meeting and sobbed for an hour. But Emma, resilient and intuitive in the way children are, sensed something was changing. One evening, she climbed into Jared's lap while he was reviewing case files at home. Daddy, are you sad? She asked, her small hand on his cheek. Jared set aside his work, pulling her close. A little bit, sweetheart. But not because of you. Never because of you. Mama Verna says I used to be her baby. Before I was your baby. Jared's throat tightened. That's right. Can I have 2 mommies and 2 daddies? Yes, Jared said firmly. Yes, you can. And everyone loves you so much, Emma. Remember that, okay? No matter what happens, no matter what changes, you are loved. Emma hugged him fiercely, and Jared made a silent vow. He would find Madeline. He would expose the network. And he would make sure that his daughter, because she would always be his daughter, grew up knowing that justice had been done. That night, Jared loaded his truck. Ray Stone had provided coordinates for the Colorado property, a cabin 40 miles from Pagosa Springs, accessible only by 4-wheel drive and hiking. If Madeline was there, she'd feel safe, isolated. She was wrong. Where are you going? Lauren asked, finding him in the garage. To end this, Jared said simply. To make sure Madeline answers for what she did. Jared, that's dangerous. Let the FBI. The FBI is building a case that could take months or years, Jared interrupted. And every day we wait is another day Emma loses with her biological parents. Another day the Morales family doesn't get justice. I'm not waiting anymore. Lauren searched his face. What are you going to do? What needs to be done, Jared said. I'm going to find her. I'm going to get the evidence we need. And I'm going to make sure she understands the weight of what she stole from all of us. Promise me you'll be careful, Lauren whispered. I promise, Jared said, kissing her. And I promise I'm coming back. We're going to get through this, Lauren. All of us. As he drove south through the Colorado night, Jared's mind was clear for the first time in weeks. He'd spent his career taking down criminals from behind a desk, following paper trails, and building cases. But this was personal. This was his family. And Madeline Bauer was about to learn that the worst mistake you can make is underestimating a father protecting his child. Chapter 7. The Mountain Trap. The cabin was exactly where Ray had said, a weathered structure tucked into a pine forest, solar panels on the roof, a generator humming quietly. Smoke curled from the chimney. Someone was home. Jared had parked 3 miles away and hiked in, arriving at dawn. He'd brought tools, a satellite phone, recording equipment, zip ties, and a Glock 19. Not to kill. He wasn't that person, but he wasn't taking chances either. He watched the cabin for 2 hours before Madeline emerged. She looked different. Thinner, her hair cut short and dyed dark, but unmistakably her. She was on a cell phone, arguing with someone in Spanish. When she hung up, she threw the phone against a tree in frustration. Jared waited until she went back inside. Then he moved. The cabin's lock was cheap, easily picked. Jared entered silently, his weapon drawn. The interior was sparse, a cot, a table with a laptop, supplies stacked against one wall. Maps covered one entire section, marked with locations across Mexico and Central America. Madeline was in the back room. When she emerged and saw Jared standing in her living room, gun pointed at the floor, she froze. "Hello, Madeline," Jared said calmly. "We need to talk." Her face cycled through shock, fear, and then calculation. "Jared, how did you find you? I'm a forensic investigator. It's what I do." He gestured to a chair. "Sit down. We're going to have a conversation, and you're going to tell me everything." "You can't be here," Madeline said. But she sat, her eyes darting to the door. "If they find out." "The network." Jared pulled out his phone, showing her photos of Spencer Singleton in custody. "They're being dismantled as we speak. The FBI has been building a case for months. You're done, Madeline. The only question is whether you go down alone or take everyone with you." Madeline's face paled. "You don't understand what they'll do." "I don't care what they'll do to you," Jared said coldly. "You stole a baby from her parents. You used my wife's body to hide that crime. You made us criminals. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I had no choice." Madeline burst out. "They said they'd kill me if I didn't deliver. I owed them money from before. When my baby died, they blamed me, said I owed them for their investment. I had to give them another baby or—" "So you stole one from a hospital and used us as your storage unit," Jared finished. "Very noble." Madeline was crying now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you or Lauren. But I was desperate. And when the FBI got involved, when the investigation got so big, I couldn't move her. So I thought if I left her with you, at least she'd be safe, loved." "Her name is Sophia," Jared said. "And her real parents have been in hell for 3 years because of you." He set the recording equipment on the table, visible. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything. Every name, every location, every detail about the network's operations. Where the server is that Spencer mentioned. How they laundered the children. All of it. If I talk, they'll kill me. If you don't talk, I'll make sure you spend the rest of your life in a federal prison, and I'll personally ensure every inmate knows you're a child trafficker." Jared's voice was ice. "Or you can cooperate, get witness protection, and maybe, Lauren will let you send Emma a letter someday explaining why you destroyed her childhood." Madeline stared at him, then at the recorder, then back. "You'd really do that? Turn me over to the FBI?" "I'd do worse," Jared said honestly. "But I'm giving you one chance to make this right. Not for you, for Emma, for Sophia, for every other child the network has hurt. Now talk." And she did. Over the next 6 hours, Madeline laid out the entire operation. The network's leadership, their methods, their clients. She drew maps, provided names, explained the financial structure. The server Spencer had mentioned? It was in a storage unit in Albuquerque, of all places, practically within sight of where Sophia had been taken. "They thought it was funny," Madeline said bitterly. "Hiding the evidence that close to the crime. The password and location are in my laptop. Take it. Take everything." "Why did you really stay away?" Jared asked. "The truth." Madeline's face crumpled. "Because I couldn't look at that baby without remembering mine. The one I carried for the network, the one who died. Every time I thought about going back to get Sophia, to deliver her to the clients, I saw my daughter's face. I couldn't do it. So I ran. And I've been running ever since. It didn't excuse anything, but it explained the broken woman sitting across from him. Jared made the call to Agent Keller. Within 3 hours, FBI helicopters were landing in the clearing. Madeline was taken into custody, cooperating fully. The laptop and her testimony would crack the network wide open. But Jared's work wasn't finished. Chapter 8, The Reckoning. The FBI raid on the Albuquerque storage unit made national news. Inside that nondescript 10 by 10 space, they found records of over 200 illegal adoptions and surrogacies spanning 15 years. Children sold to wealthy clients around the world. Families destroyed. Lives shattered. The network's leadership, including a woman named Gretchen Berry who'd run the operation and her partner, Carl Weaver, were arrested in coordinated raids across 3 states. Prosecutors called it the largest illegal adoption ring in U.S. history. Madeline testified before a grand jury, her cooperation earning her a plea deal, 12 years in federal prison, possibility of parole after 8. It wasn't enough, could never be enough, but it was something. Jared attended every hearing, every trial. He sat in the gallery, a silent reminder to Madeline and every other defendant of the real cost of their crimes. And when Gretchen Berry was sentenced to 40 years, when Carl Weaver got life, when the entire organization crumbled, Jared felt a grim satisfaction. But the hardest part was still ahead. Emma's custody hearing was set for a Thursday in May. The courtroom was small, intimate. Verna and Angelo sat on one side with their attorney. Jared and Lauren sat on the other with Judith Bailey. Emma was with a social worker, spared from attending. Judge Nicholas Clayton reviewed the case files, his expression grave. "This is one of the most unusual situations I've encountered," he began. "We have a child who was stolen at birth, hidden through an elaborate deception, and raised by 2 loving people who had no knowledge of the crime. And we have biological parents who never stopped searching for their daughter." He looked at each party. Both sets of parents love this child. That's clear. The question before this court is, what serves Emma Sophia Morales' best interests? Angelo stood, his voice shaking. "Your Honor, we lost 3 years with our daughter. 3 years we can never get back. But we want to be part of her future. We don't want to erase the Pikes from her life. They saved her, in a way. But she is our child. We have a right to raise her." Lauren stood next, tears streaming. "Your Honor, we love Emma more than life itself. We've been her parents since birth. But I understand. I understand she's not ours. Not legally. We're not fighting custody. We're asking for visitation rights, to remain part of her life as she grows up." Jared rose last. "Your Honor, I spent 3 years investigating this crime because I knew something was wrong. I found Madeline Bauer. I gave the FBI everything they needed to bring down the network. Not for recognition, but because Emma deserves to know that the people who hurt her were brought to justice. And she deserves to have all the people who love her in her life." Judge Clayton nodded slowly. "Mr. Pike, your investigation was instrumental in solving this case. Mrs. Pike, your love for this child is evident. But the law is clear. Sophia Morales is the biological child of Verna Alvarez and Angelo Avila, and she was taken from them illegally. Primary custody will be awarded to her biological parents." Lauren made a small, wounded sound. Jared gripped her hand. "However," the judge continued, "I'm also ordering a co-parenting arrangement. The Pikes will have visitation every other weekend and alternating holidays. This child needs all of you. She needs her biological parents, and she needs the parents who raised her. This court expects all parties to work together for her well-being." It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Outside the courthouse, Verna approached Lauren hesitantly. "I know this is hard," she said, "but I want you to know, we're grateful. You kept our daughter safe when we couldn't. You loved her when we couldn't find her. That matters." Lauren nodded, unable to speak. Angelo extended his hand to Jared. "Thank you. For finding her. For bringing those people to justice. For everything." Jared shook his hand. "Take care of her. She's special." "We will," Angelo promised. "And you'll always be part of her life. We'll make sure she knows how much you love her." Chapter 9, The Family Redefined. 1 year later, Jared sat in his backyard, watching Emma play on the swing set. She was 4 now, bright and happy, splitting her time between 2 homes, 2 families. It had been hard. There were tears and confusion in those first months, but children are resilient. Emma had adapted. "Higher, Daddy," she called out, and Jared pushed her swing, laughing. Lauren joined him, leaning against his shoulder. They'd been through hell and come out the other side, scarred but stronger. Their marriage had weathered the storm. They'd started therapy, both individual and couples, working through the trauma. "Verna called," Lauren said. "They're having a birthday party for Emma next weekend. They want us to come, to help celebrate." "We'll be there," Jared said. It was a strange new normal. Shared custody calendars, coordinated schedules, birthday parties where two sets of parents celebrated one child. But it worked. Emma thrived, surrounded by love from all sides. Madeline sent a letter from prison. Jared read it alone first, to screen for anything harmful. It was surprisingly lucid, full of genuine remorse. She explained her breakdown, her involvement with the network, her cowardice in using them. She asked for forgiveness she knew she didn't deserve and hoped that someday Emma might understand. Jared filed it away. Maybe when Emma was older, they'd share it. Maybe not. That was a decision for another day. The real victory came 6 months after the trial. Jared received a call from Agent Keller. "We found 12 other children. 12 families reunited because of your investigation. The network is finished. You did that. 12 families. 12 children returned to their real parents." It didn't undo the damage, but it was justice. Jared thought about the night the police had arrived, the photo of Sofia Morales that had shattered his world. He'd been terrified then, facing the loss of his daughter, the revelation of Madeline's betrayal. But he'd also been determined to find the truth, to protect his family, to make sure justice was served. He'd done all of that. Emma ran to him, breathless and grinning. "Watch me do a flip." "I'm watching," Jared said, and he was. He was watching his daughter, because she would always be his daughter, even if she now had 4 parents instead of 2. Live her life free from the shadow of the network, safe and loved. Lauren squeezed his hand. "We survived," she whispered. "More than that," Jared said. "We won." Not in the way he'd expected. Not by keeping Emma all to himself, not by avoiding pain or loss, but by doing the right thing, by fighting for justice, by ensuring that Madeline and everyone like her answered for their crimes. And in the end, Emma had what every child deserved, a family who loved her. Even if that family was bigger and more complicated than most. That evening, as the sun set over Denver, Jared grilled burgers while Lauren set the table. Emma played with her toys, singing off-key. Tomorrow she'd go to the Avila Alvarez house, where Verna and Angelo would tuck her in and read her stories in Spanish. But tonight, she was here, with them, safe and happy. And for Jared Pike, that was enough. He'd protected his daughter, brought down a criminal empire, and ensured that 12 other families were reunited. Madeline Bauer was behind bars. The network was destroyed. Justice had been served. The story that began with a sister's desperate plea had ended with a family redefined, broken and rebuilt, stronger for having survived the storm together. And Emma, innocent through it all, would grow up knowing she was loved by 6 people who would move mountains to protect her. That was Jared's victory. That was his triumph. And it was earned. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.